All the choices you made, did you make them again, 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 again? All the lies that you told, did you believe in them? All the choices you made, did you make them again, 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 again? All the lies that you told, did you believe in them?
Good evening, tankers, and welcome back to the Australian Esports University League for World of Tanks. It's currently week 3, and we're excited to bring you rounds 5 and 6 of the tournament. I'm Mendrix, and joining me tonight to make sense of all the explosive action is none other than Midnight. How are you this fine evening?
I'm going great, mate, and I'm really excited for today because, as you said, we've got rounds number 5 and 6 waiting in the wings, and this will really be the week where we get to see the divide between the teams, right? We've had the first couple rounds where we got to see teams posturing up against one another. Now, if you are going to make your way to the playoffs and everything like that, now is where you have to really break free from your competition.
Couldn't agree more with that one. But before we do jump into that action, of course, we just need to bring you the sponsors making this tournament completely available for all of you today. Of course, first up is Chatime with 120 Chatime tea breweries with a commitment to quality and ingredients and all those good old mix-ins. AOC, a global leader in monitor display technology for more than 50 years. Predator, elevate your gaming experience in every way with the quality and performance thanks to Predator. Indomie, feed your game and try out any of their flavors today. And of course, last but not least, Rig, what it takes to win. That being said, you were talking about those teams, breaking away from the action, but we do have to have a quick look at that history and bring up the standings. And as it stands at the moment, in terms of what we're looking at, the University of Queensland, the 7th Army Reserves are sitting at the top of the ladder at 11 points. Right behind is in second is the University of New South Wales, RUKM, on 10 points. And then followed by that will be UQ40, as you like to say, and the University SA Esports on 9 points, basically tied at that point. And of course, all the other teams are available as well. Deakin Daddies, good old UOWs, just sitting back. And of course, the University of Waikato, just to put out a little bit of a note on that one there specifically. And we'll be sitting there just trying to see if they can make their way in. Don't think they have the best chances to get into it. Something crazy would need to happen in these rounds if they would actually make it into those points. Apart from that, Midnight, I mean, the gut checks are over. We have a pretty good idea in terms of who's going to be running the show. The gut check games have officially left the building.
Yeah, and now we have to see the matches, especially we have to keep our eyes on these top 4 teams, the ones that are, only 2 points away from each other, all the way from both UQs, the UNSW, and of course the Uni of SA, are all going to be in that position of posturing where you need to get the next couple wins under your belt in order to have that better shot. And I mean, for our first game of the night, Mendrix, 2 of these teams, I should say, will be butting heads for that exact fight. You can see it on the screen. Both UQ teams are going to have to battle it out here. So we can get some sort of divide on the real question, is the 7th faction of UQ going to remain as top dog, or is 40 coming back for revenge?
Yeah, it might be a way to actually just peel away from the competition. I feel like what's really good about it is the teams having a little bit of fun. We've had a few, memorable tanks come into the mix of it. Most notably, of course, the good old Japanese assault tank in the OI. Pretty damn powerful in terms of what it can actually do. Obviously, didn't really hit the mark in that particular game, but it was damn fun about it. And obviously, now it's hit that point that we are go time. It's really the last final rounds. Of course, we were bringing you round 7 next week and a few tiebreakers afterwards. But I think right now really will sort of be the decider. I don't think we'll be seeing any of those fun games. We're probably going to be going to very, very focused meta compositions coming into play here. Probably won't get to see any SPGs. I know you're going to be completely devastated by that, Midnight.
I'm a little heartbroken. I still hold out hope, Mendrix, that we're going to get some unconventional tank choices. I understand that it's not ideal and you need to get these wins under your belt. So I get why we might not see them, but we can hold out hope. All right, I'm still hoping for another
M44.
I would just love another M44 or something along those lines. That would make my day. But will the maps converse for it? Well, there's actually the possibility if someone wants to pull out a little bit cheesy, because the maps coming in here for round number 5, they are pretty open if we can bring those up. The first one is going to be Tundra. So quite a bit open. You can see what the players do want to bring open onto the table there. Followed up with Sand River, where we did see that M44 be used previously.
Yes.
I'm holding high hopes there. And then, of course, if we do get to that tiebreaker, Mines is waiting to wrap up round number 5.
So what's really interesting about these maps, of course, they typically don't have the best roads in place there. If you're looking for the best positioning, you might be opting in for some of those tanks with better traverse speeds. something that can really go across that hard and soft terrain in a more effective manner. I imagine probably instead of us seeing the VK 3601s, typically that breakthrough tank, normally teams are bringing at least 2 of those, or typically when they're the most successful, probably be seeing their other counterpart, the VK 3001, which packs a pretty similar punch, but of course doesn't have that same health pools behind it, doesn't have the same top speed, but still has a better movement across these maps. So hoping that these teams do take that into account when it comes to their choices and decisions, and in particular for these tanks. Of course, the other things that have been on the market are those Scoters, which are pretty damn good in terms of that. There, do you have any particular tanks you think that maybe might make their way to the market, Midnight?
I mean, again, take what I'm about to say with many grain of salt, because I'm a fan of the unconventional. I'm a fan of things you probably shouldn't pick if you're aiming to win, because I typically play, having a good time over, actually trying, because that's just who I am as a person. I would love just some ridiculous tank destroyers. I'm talking stuff like, maybe not necessarily the Jackson, which is my first thought. I always advocate the OI. I've been advocating that since week number 1.
You've been advocating it so much that you called it the IO.
I got too excited.
I was like, I mean, he's so excited, but of course it's correct, right?
I got so excited upon seeing it, my brain just turned into mincemeat. It wasn't my greatest showing. But even something like, for example, the UK Achilles would be quite fun to see. Would it be realistically usable? Probably not. But I would still love to see something like that being pulled out. And, well, without further ado, Mendrix, it sounds like we are going to be getting ready for our first match of round number 5.
We still got a bit of time before that comes into it, Midnight. But that being said, I mean, you have to be excited. There is obviously going to be actually a bit of a giveaway that we are throwing out there. A watch to win, if you could say. And if you do decide to just, give some comments out there, I don't care what it's about. Just tell me how your day's been. Tell me about the meta. Tell me about the games that you'll be seeing on the screen. You'll be in the running to win 500 gold, an AC1 Sentinel with 100% crew, and 3 days premium, which isn't too bad. So that's, 1 out of 5 codes. Just, throw in something there. Hell, if you want to, you can comment on my hair. I know it looks bad at the moment. I want to get a haircut, but none of the places are open for the time being. I think, Midnight, you definitely want to get a haircut sometime soon as well. You're telling me.
Is that obvious, huh? It looks that bad, huh?
It doesn't look bad. It's just a bit of a bush at the moment.
It's not the best showing there, but could be worse, right? That's the way I always try to look at things. It could be worse. Well, I'm actually going to turn something around on you while we do have a few minutes before we get in. You asked me what tanks I do want to see. Now, again, I think you might have a bit more of a meta answer, but what are you hoping to see out of today in terms of just the tanks?
I was talking about the Scoters before being what seems to be the medium tank of choice. But if I really wanted to see something, I'd love to see the Crusader again. We actually saw that be used to some great effect, managing to come in and completely destroy its counterpart by using its versatile speed, just extra round shots, and just sitting behind the back of a tank to actually take out a win in a round. So that's something I'd love to see come into it. It is, again, that British light tank, very versatile in terms of its movements, its speed, all the different things it can do. And of course, very quick rounds per fire, which means you can still just put your opponent off tilter if you do catch them out in the right case. And that of course requires good positioning, good macro, good presence of mind to really execute on that play. But typically, probably expecting those VKs, as you said, I'd love to see them, like you said. If not, maybe perhaps the BUG counterparts to the Scoters, which have been picked up, don't actually have the same speed as the Scoters. It doesn't really have the same camo, but damn, do those guys patch an absolute punch.
I mean, that's what we've seen. The trading of most medium tanks is oftentimes you pick up the Scoter, you can pick up the BUG. We did see Cromwells and Crusaders also being poked around.
The M348s as well. Don't completely take my name on that one because that one's completely off the top of my head in terms of because we haven't seen it for a while. It was played in the first weeks of play in the first rounds, but we haven't really seen it since, I believe. I think there's been a few more unconventional picks, especially last week was definitely a bit interesting in that sense. So I'm really excited to see if, it is going to be, like you said, perhaps a little bit of unconventionality. People maybe have really pinned down, hey, these VKs are what everyone's using. Is there actually going to be a counter tank to these ones being into play? Can we implement that? How do we do it on these maps? Do we need to find, again, those traverse speeds alternatives that really have that advantage? Is there a way for us to work in an SPG successfully because it hasn't really hit the mark?
Yeah, the SPGs have really struggled. And I think the solution to, the medium and heavy tanks of choices is just match.
Mhm.
In these cases, so many times we've talked about it time and time again on these broadcasts where, yes, in a regular game, specialty tanks work brilliantly. Unfortunately, you just don't have the room to make them work in 3v3 scenarios. So I think, yeah, stick to the VKs is probably your best chance of this, unless you're really confident with a particular kind of tank. Unless you're like, a specialty with like the KV2 or something like that. Unless you're really confident with it, I think we just stick to the bread and butter. Unless and then maybe we'll get a little bit of a jam thrown in there too.
Well, as we are about to jump into that game, jump on it right 7:30 on the mark. I believe the teams are ready to initiate and get into play. What I have found throughout the meta is typically when they do actually pick their tank, they stick to it for the whole round. Sometimes they change it up, but I feel more often than not, those are the tier 6 tanks that they're very comfortable on. They've put the practice into, they've implemented the strategies. Once they've got them in, they'll play that and they won't have much variation. So that's something I'm looking to see if perhaps maybe there might be a variation this time around. Again, it is go time. They really do need to pull out something special to really pull away from each other. Of course, it is going to be the University of Queensland 7th up against the University of Queensland 40, or the UQs as we like to put it. And ready to jump into the matches. There's going to be Mr. X, Hot Rod, Scorpio, Finnegan, Stanky Leg, Dark. These are going to be the players going into it as well. And see, Scorpio is definitely sitting right behind Mr. X in that one there. Of course, that VK3601 being that breakthrough tank has a little bit of extra bump to it as well. So that's going to be the guy that's really going to be pushing and giving it a little bit of extra protection for these good old tanks coming into the mix of it.
Yeah, they are looking to make crosses at the bridge here. It is the usual offenders across the board here. You got the VKs, you got the Cromwells, and the Scotas. There's nothing too out of the ordinary. As the charge across the bridge is coming there, Mr. X, as we talked about, trailblazing.
Far behind though.
Yeah, he's fallen a bit behind, but I think he's just there to give some bit more backup, and it could be a trap though. Dark is on one side of the positioning. Stanky and Finicky are also on the other. They have been spotted, and they're charging right towards the finish line.
Yeah, I don't see them actually going for the point. They're actually looking to go, hey, we don't really, not sure where Dark is at the moment. He's immediately spotted and just taken down at 531 HP. So that's unfortunate. The camouflage not really being effective for Dark there. And they were literally just looking for what was going to be one member out and start taking the shots here. But with the tracks being knocked out, sorry, the motor being actually taken down there from Mr. X, he seems to be a little bit of a sitting duck now. And those shots just come through from Stanky Leg and Finnick and absolutely blow away the competition.
What a brilliant ambush that came out here from the side of UQ, luring out both of them, and Mr. X and his VK dropped in the blink of an eye from the concentrated fire of all three UQ 7th Army members. Now, this was 40 in a horrid position where they got Cromwells. They're trying to take head-on fights with Cromwells against two VKs. That is a disadvantageous position to find yourself in.
Yeah, the idea is really you want to make sure that you've got that protection. They can get in up close and personal and start dealing that damage, of course, to these VKs from behind, or perhaps be in a really good position to actually take those shots. But unfortunately, it ended up being the 7th Army, the team with the drop on it. Fantastic positioning from Dark. I thought he was caught out, but that was all part of the plan. It was a well-laid trap. Of course, though, these Cromwells do have the advantage to just sort of, pick up and make a full move around towards that's number 2 site, perhaps maybe get something there, push out these VKs out of position if possible. But to be honest, they have packed themselves in a pretty good spot. It's not much of a trip for them to actually just get back in firing range of that site too.
And we're seeing the 40 members here trying to find something. Hot Rod's like, okay, I'm not really sure what we can do here. Because if you try and take a position, which as the attackers, you don't have a choice in the matter here, the VKs are going to come for you, and the VKs have more firepower, more health. I don't realistically see how these two Cromwells, sitting at a combined 700 health, is meant to take down two VKs. Each individual VK has more health than the combined forces of 40. So it's going to be a difficult battle if they want to try and pull this one off.
As you can see, they are trying to find a new flank if possible, but they're literally just sitting there. Like, if these guys could be campers, they would have a tent erected around them in some form or way. Right now, I'm just saying Dark didn't die. Dark just got out of the tank, went over there, is now throwing a tent up, pitching it on the side there and say, all right, you boys just sit here nice and cool. Everything's going to be fine. I mean, we find ourselves back in a similar situation here. Perhaps they were looking for a fake on the side of the UQ40. perhaps saying, hey, we're moving to side 2. You should move out as well. Begin to like make a side that you can see that Hot Rod's trying to see if he can get a spot out, perhaps find out what's happening there. He does have them spotted for the time being, so he knows exactly where they are. And he's saying, you know what, they're not there. They can actually see him as well for the time being. He's going to get a few shots off as well at the same time. Now that he's been spotted as well, they're going to start to fire something back, but haven't really got too much on the back of control of it. But what they have done is just go, you know what, we still got some time left in the side here. Let's just throw one of our members down there and try to win out from that capturing there. Now they're forced to move. Finicking, Stanky Leg are saying, all right, we have to make this long traverse over now to this site 2, see if we can get in there. And now that they're on the move, you can see immediately there's going to be that sort of same play from Hot Rod trying to get around. Perhaps maybe he can find himself in a good spot to get a few extra pot shots off here. But Scorpio is in a bad spot there if he does end up going against these 2 VKs without any real chance of actually getting a firing back onto it, because he's literally a sitting duck out in the open now.
And look what they're doing. They're moving so that the mountain or the hillside covers them from Hot Rod's positioning. Hot Rod was trying to snipe them if they move through the village, but the movements here from the 7th Army members, like, all right, cool, we're not even going to give you the chance to snipe us down. Sure, we have 1 minute to try and contest the point here, but Scorpio is about to get opened up on Finicking, waiting for his backup. It's like, all right, you can hold the point, but as you talked about, Mendrix, that means that Scorpio and Hot Rod are going to be stuck in the open.
Yeah, we can see here now they're beginning to make their run in right now, and they're more than happy to go for this charge.
He's looking the wrong way.
Scorpio's like, I've been spotted. Okay, I mean, 50-meter range, of course, he's been spotted here as well. The shots are coming in. There is going to be some shots coming out from Hot Rod as well on the side here. Scorpio's still alive at 11 HP. But unfortunately, he is being taken down, and these VKs are looking strong.
Yeah, now, well, if you were struggling to hold the position with 2 of your Cromwells, what are you going to do when only 1 remains here? Because the 7th Army Reserves could honestly just put 1 person on each point and just wait. As we see the point of view from our last surviving member, Hot Rod, has absolutely no idea where these VKs are. Has a pretty good sense, hey, they're probably coming towards me, but has to wait it out. Finally gets a spot up there. Is even able to hide after the first shot, but this is a bit of a summary execution coming through here for the Cromwell.
He's just coming in, makes quick work of it as well. Finicken's like, yep, no problems there. I can even see the trees falling down. You got to be more careful with that camo. But even though he had the drop on the shots there, they kind of had a few drops from time to time. It just didn't matter in the end there. And again, all goes back to that initiation coming through. They made for a move. They saw the Skoda, put themselves out of position, showed their rears, and then from there they were able to use those VKs to deliver insane amounts of damage. You can really see what they managed to put out there as well. 1,567 on Finicking, Stanky pulling out 1,116. So not too shabby. Both of them really, doing their job, and Dark paying major dividends by sacrificing himself in that position.
And when you look at the trade that was made for that ambush, Dark is running the Skoda. It's not the end of the world if you end up losing him, especially if you trade him for a heavier tank like you were able to there. You lured them in, said, okay, look, you've got that happy little Skoda here, and the 2 VKs were just lurking in the wings, and it worked brilliantly as the opening salvo here is, like, look at the damage they were able to do there. It's not that Hot Rod and Scorpio couldn't do the damage, or not that they weren't going to be able to potentially take down the 2 VKs. It's a matter of just the amount of health that they had to burn through. They had to get, 4 or 5 uncontested, untraded rounds into their opponents to have a chance to win, and it's just such a tall order to be able to try and pull that off.
Definitely an uphill battle for them to make that work. They were really relying on, I think, more value from Mr. X and his VK to sort of put themselves into a better position. But of course, again, it was a VK traded out for that Skoda. And it wasn't just that, it was also the positioning as well. That's the real key factor here. They put themselves in a really bad spot. They were basically in a crosshair. They just saw them, we're going to beam them down. Just take the shots in, no problems there. And then at the same time, it was pretty hard from the positionings to actually return fire. They were in a relatively elevated point. They were to use those depressions. They've got decent decent holes in terms of what they got there in armor and those VKs. Of course, they were able to actually just walk away with basically a mere scratch from the trade and trading out pretty damn effectively at the same time.
And that's, of course, given the first match of round number 5 here over to the side of UQ7. Now, of course, we are going to go for a second bite at the apple, swapping sides here. And, well, you talked about earlier today the likelihood of people staying on the same tanks.
Yeah.
Now, Specifically, I want to look at the side of UQ 40th, where they did bring two lighter tanks, and then out of the double Cromwells and the VK. Do they try and think, okay, do we need to go double VK with something lighter as well to try and match? Because you give a pretty good inkling. If 7th Army did it once, they're probably going to do it again.
I really would like for them to actually just swap it out here as well. Because again, being on defense means you can opt in to have yourself a better position while you wait for your enemy to obviously go for whatever their objective is going to be, whether it's going to be site 2 or site 1. You don't really know at that point. You can opt in again for those tanks that do have that bigger punch for their damage, the better marks for it as well, because you don't have to move as much. You just need to make sure that you're in that vision range of those sites, and then you take those shots there to reset the timer. That's really going to be your main goal going forward. So I would like for them to actually opt in for tanks with a little bit more punch, a little bit more, beef behind them in terms of how much their HP pools are going to be, and just make sure they put themselves in good positions. Because I love a good charge, don't get me wrong, but that definitely fell flat for them there in that scenario. They had the right idea. They put their 2 weaker tanks behind the big guy. Big guy went first. Eric seems to be good, but if your big guy goes down that quickly, things are just going to fall apart. So I think they're going to probably hope for something a little bit differently, but maybe 7th Army might bring something a bit different, but they're looking to have the exact same setup once again. The 40 guys here have actually changed out one of the Cromwells for a VK.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we wanted to see him, and just give them a bit more meat to their fighting force here. Hell, it gives them a higher total amount of HP with the Cromwell. And of course, they're 2 heavier VKs, the VK 36s versus, of course, the VK 30s that are being brought in by the 7th Army here. And we'll see what this positioning setup. It looks very similar from the side of 40 here, the setup that 7th Army used in the previous rounds. The 7th Army probably going to approach things differently. They look to be going much slower this time, but that may have something to do with the tanks they're bringing to the table.
So the thing is that's obviously a bit annoying about this positioning that they're looking into, like in terms of what they're bringing here is, of course, if you are opting to go for site 1, you can just sort of say, hey, probably not where we want to go to, especially if they're going to be doing the exact same strategy that we implemented. As you can see, they're saying, you know what, let's just forego site 1. We'll go straight towards 2, set ourselves up in a good position, and basically force the defenders into an attacking position to obviously break through while they're beginning to get those points. They're putting 2 tanks onto it straight away. Of course, it's going to be the beefy tanks here, the VK, sitting right in front as well. They are going to be the derivative of a little bit less HP in terms of what's been available, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty happy regardless in terms of that, because of course this map doesn't have that many roads. More than happy to have a little bit of extra traverse speed instead.
Well, now they're holding the position there, the timer is ticking down. Using 2 tanks to force, it means that their opponents of 40 are not going to have as much time to take things slow. They've kind of just got to charge there. Hot Rod is going to be the first arrival there, is spotted out by Dark Skoda, of course catches them out there, but they ideally want to get some sort of slug into Finnegan or Sankey, because you really want to reset that timer, give your 2 VKs more time to get to the table, but he's got to fight that shot soon, 10 seconds remaining.
Well, they're going in for the battle now. They're just jumping off the point. More than happy to jump in and just completely get rid of this Cromwell. Hot Rod's trapped between a rock and a hard place, and he just gets rammed right on down. Of course, those Cromwells have a little bit of extra damage in comparison to the Skoda, but it's not much you can really do when 3 tanks at once are going into position. And now they're just dancing back and forth. We do have Mr. X, and of course Not Beast coming into play to join the party, but it is going to be a 3-on-2, a bit of repositioning here from UK 7th as well, and it's going to be a little spotting coming across from that Skoda, of course that extra camouflage providing the information that they need.
Yeah, they know that they're both VKs trapped there, and we can actually see someone is going for a bit of a long flank here. Finnegan is saying, well, what can I get a sniper on here, because we know exactly where Mr. X and Naught Beast are hiding for now, and I am curious to see if 40 do decide to continue trying to hold this position. It looks like they're both backing up in sync, like synchronized swimmers here, trying to see, well, where do we want to go here? We don't have the intel to see what's going on. We finally see someone on the flank, but now they're getting pincered.
Yeah, you can see now that they've managed, now we've got the spotting from Finnegan as well. They're basically being re-picked up. They were trying to get back to sort of just put themselves out of position from being spotted, but in the end, with Finnegan coming in on that high ground, now is able to see them, and now it's just going to be the slow march from UQ7. So you can see they're just dancing on both sides of the top of the hill there. Really a bad position now for UQ40s as well. Finnegan's trying to get himself back into a good spot to get some extra shots in as well. He's going to be able to see them. He's lining up a shot right now. He's going to get a hit there as well, but when I'm looking at this, Finnegan is sort of susceptible, but now they're going for the charge. The Skoda's coming in as well. They're using that heal to get that little bit of extra speed. Finnegan's now beginning to also ramp up into position, and now the fight's all out.
Yeah, they're charging forwards here. The members of 40 have to try and stay alive, but I just don't think they have the firepower to do it. Finnegan charging into the problem there as they will drop one, and Naught Beast has to simply wait to be taken down. Nothing that he can do in this situation except embrace death.
And that is going to be another good win coming through here from the 7th Army as well, really utilizing their strategies in terms of their positioning effectively. I mean, to be able to take out that Cromwell so quickly just put them in such an advantageous position that it was just so hard for them to come back from. I really feel that they really needed to work on it in terms of the 40th tier. In terms of their game plans, just a little bit more, and you can see that preparation's coming through. Maybe, this isn't their map. Maybe they just need to bring something a little bit different to the party in the next map going forward, and hopefully that allows them to do a little bit of extra work, because they do need to win twice now. Like, it can't be one win, one loss here. No, they need to walk away with 2 wins to at least push it towards that tiebreaker.
Yeah, they don't have much of a choice in the matter here, but one of the biggest things I've noticed in that particular round there, Mendrix, and specifically only in that second one we just witnessed, is the difference between these two teams when it comes to pincer movements. Now, part of it, I will have to preface this by saying that when we saw 40 react to the point being taken, I think they had maybe 10 seconds. But by the time they were set up their pincer, because of the way that 7th Army charged towards the point there. But Hot Rod sort of charged towards the point because you had to get a couple of shots off. You had to stop that countdown from happening. But you saw how close he managed to get before being just jumped on by the members of 7th Army. He was not very far away from them. And that allowed the members of 7th Army to say, okay, screw your teammates. They're not a problem to deal with. We're coming for you. And then they ganged up on him 3-on-1, and that's never a fight he's going to come out of there alive. Now, view how that was done by 40th compared to how 7th used their pincer at the end of that one. They corralled the members of 40 behind one position, and then Finnegan went around the outside saying, okay, cool, now you've got to deal with 2 points of attack, and unlike when we charged your teammate, you can't charge ours, because Finnegan was really far away from his opponents, well outside of rush distance. So on the next map, which is going to be, checking my notes there, Sand River, that's what we're going to have to see. Can they keep their distance to prevent just the swarm of the pincer?
Look, everything we've been talking about here is that execution, right? How do they actually jump in? Who's in the better spots? Who's been able to take those advantages? I think something we have to take into it is just an element of luck as well. And when I say that, before we get into it, it's not like shots being fired or anything like that. You have to look at the game plans that both these teams implemented. One team said, hey, we're going to site 1. We're going to go charge right into it, get ourselves in position, and then hopefully find someone, pick them off. Obviously didn't go the way of UQ40. When I look at the strategy that was implemented by the 7th, it was pretty similar. We're going to charge in on site 2. We're going to set ourselves up, and then hopefully, be able to pick someone off. That went fine. But when you look at the differences in terms of what their opponents did against each other, right? They're charging that site 1, but they set up their defenses at site 1. They set up the trap. They fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, right? If they had just decided to go for site 2, that doesn't happen. Flip that around. We've set up again on defense in site 1. They don't decide to go to site 1. They decide to go to site 2. All of a sudden, you now need to basically unstrap the trap. It wasn't even sprung. It was literally just like, crap, we've got this trap here that's useless. We need to move. They've made the move there. Of course, their enemy was in position, and unfortunately, the 7th ones that come on top. I mean, if you're looking at it from the perspective of UQ40, you think this, man, seriously? Like, we charged one site, they were there waiting for us. They charged one site, we're on the other side of the map. There's no way we can, really take this effectively. And part of that literally is that RNG aspect. You decide to take that gamble when you make that charge happen. And it seems that the UQ 7th Army have a little bit of extra, I guess you could say, luck coming into it. Perhaps they've got a pot of gold somewhere.
Well, we'll see. Of course, we have hit the second map here of round number 5, Sand River, and the tank compositionally stays relatively the same. We got some VKs, which is about what we expected. We got Skoda for Dark. But, yeah, the P43 for Hot Rod deciding, look, Cromwell just was not working out for me here. Let's go for something a little bit different on this map.
Yeah, well, he's going to be just, sitting on the side here as well. He's going to have the 2 covers there from the VKs themselves. These guys are going to be, of course, the iteration that doesn't have the best top speed, as you can see. The P43 is just pushing ahead. Hot Rod's like, yeah, I don't want to go too far in front of you guys. You're going to be ones that need to take the shots for me. And of course, they're going to be having or boasting that 1,360 HP in comparison to an extra 110 compared to the VK3001s, which Finnegan and Stanky Leg are using. And they seem to be, tried, tested, and true. I feel like they have their position to it. They've been completely spotted now by this P43, but he's also in a really bad position. And I'm waiting for the shots to come flying down, but obviously they just can't get their turrets onto him just yet.
Yeah, Dark is using that trick where you can see them without actually showing yourself to them. Finally, the first round has come through, and Dark implementing the Obi-Wan tactic of having the high ground, gets some nice shots onto Scorpio. You know how to do it. Getting some nice shots onto Scorpio then. A nice opening volley, and this gives time for Stanky Leg, who was defending the other point, to make their way over to the team.
So, and the thing is here, that they've managed to actually get themselves into a good position here without taking too much damage. Only Scorpio taking a few chunks on the side there. And now this allows them to push into their own high ground, perhaps implement their own strategy here. As you can see, the P43, Hot Rod's just peeking out on the front here. Hasn't been spotted just yet. As I say that, as the light does pop into position. It's going to be Dark and Hot Rod seeing each other respectively. The other main tanks here, the ones that really bring the punch to the party, are the ones that aren't really doing too much on the side here as well. They're going to be sitting back in the corner waiting for their opportunity to strike. But yeah, needless to say, these guys are really thinking through it. 4 minutes and 40 seconds left here. Again, Yuki 40 on the attack. So they're the ones that really do need to push the ladder here. Seems it's going to be site 2. That's going to be the main thought process here for them to actually jump into it. But it's just going to be them peeking for the time being as well. Of course, big thanks to Chatime for sponsoring here as well, as a shot comes off at the same side here. Nothing's going to land.
It's
and
just
right
posturing.
Now they're feeling each other out. Yeah, it's posturing.
They're trying to see, okay, where's our opening here? And that's what this P43 for Hot Rod is trying to do. He's saying, okay, what can I see? What do we know? And they've got a pretty good idea of, okay, the defense has sort of set themselves up here, and now we're going to have to do some peeking. Mr. X, though, copping the worst end of the trade, as we have a full-on knife fight here. And it's actually Hot Rod who says, screw this, I gotta go, boys. See you later.
He's jumping on down. He's going to be closely followed by the rest as well. Mr. X will be taking most of the damage on the backside as well. They're trying to get over the edge. He just manages to get through as well. So pretty good on that side there. Now they're trying to traverse over these rocks for the time being. Looks like the P43 is going to be in a decent spot there. He's going to be jigging back and forth as well. And now they're just trying to get themselves around. But yeah, it's all going to be on this side. This is it. There's no time now to actually make their way to site 1, reposition, or make the play. It's literally going to be an all-out guns fight between all of these tanks. So I reckon we're going to have a pretty explosive finish in the next 30 seconds or so. Well, we do have just a bit of time, Midnight. Just like to say, there is a watch to win at the moment as well, guys. So leave some comments down inside that to let everyone know. As you can see, you have the option to win up to 500 gold and an AC1 Sentinel with 100% crew and 3 days worth of premium. So let us know what's happening there. But it seems the action seems to be picking up right now. They are making their way around the rock here. They haven't been spotted just yet. So let's see if this ends up working out for them.
Well, they're going for their own pincer. We talked about these after the first map. Is Scorpio on one side, Hot Rod and Mr. X on the other. Now Scorpio is the one most in danger, because if they just choose to swarm him, well, Scorpio hasn't got backup, and I think that's exactly what we're going to do. We're seeing Dark on the high ground saying, hey buddy, what you doing down there? But the pincer comes through. Dark caps an absolute hammering on the back end of that one as Finicky and Stanky charge towards Scorpio. They catch out the one member of the 40 win rate team and delete him. And now Hot Rod and Mr. X, they're going to take out Dark, otherwise this is an unfavorable trade.
Yeah, as you can see, we do have the P43 beginning to push its way up. Finnegan's now saying, you know what, you want to do a bit of a flank? I can do that as well. Shots are being fired here as well, but now the 3 tanks are conversing on UQ40 as well. We get a buzzer to let us know there's only 2 minutes left on the map, but I don't think it's going to last that long. Dark is in full tree. He's trying to get over. He tries to go for the ram and gets completely blown up for his trouble. Mr. X now is trying to deal with the 2 members of the side. He's put some good damage as well into Stanky Leg, but Finnegan hasn't really helped anything too much, and he's going to be the one to finish off the last surviving member here for the UQ40. And the 7th Army managed to take another win. It's going to be a 3-0 and actually going to be able to, solidify their victory on this round.
And once again, Mendrix, we see the side of UQ40 setting up a pincer. It took them a bit of time to get there. They did start that fight with less total health because they did just get caught by a couple opening salvos. And then the moment they split up and tried to pick the fight, again, they charged their flanker who is on their own forwards. Which then, well, members of UQ7's reserve turn, see one tank on their own with no immediate backup and say, okay, thank you very much, we're going to swarm you. They swarm them, they destroy them, and they weren't even able to pick up Dark, who was the member who was out of position.
You gotta feel for Hot Rod there. He was like, you're on low HP, Dark. I'm coming in for that little hit. I'm trying to make it work. I mean, he did a good chunk of damage there, but just wasn't able to close it off. But you can see the amount of damage was actually just that little bit more. And as you can see, unfortunately, he did go down. Scorpio there, not really delivering in terms of the amount of damage he can dish out. But that being said, here there has to be a victor, there has to be a loser here as well. And we can see on the side here, still a valiant effort put into play here. Very meta strategies coming across from both these teams here, but it seems to be that VK Skoda combination really strong, really doing some work for them as well. Obviously, taking into account that you were using the ones with a little bit less HP into the mix, really valuing that versatility, the ability to move around the map a little bit more effectively. Of course, a lower top speed, but if you're getting somewhere quicker purely because you've got better, better traverse speed in terms of that, less resistance on those particular terrains, you'll be completely fine. Midnight, what do you think about all this?
It's heartbreaking. All 3 rounds that we have seen 7th Army win, if you're looking at it from the point of 40th, as you talked about earlier, it's just a little bit heartbreaking. The first one's, okay, we walked smack into an ambush. That's unfortunate. Second round, okay, we've set up our own ambush. It has failed catastrophically, and now we have less than a minute to get to the other side of the map with 2 slow VKs. This sucks. And then this third round, you get to a position where you can set up your flank, and you send Scorpio, who's by themselves just a little bit too early. Scorpio just gets swarmed, gets taken down, and suddenly you couldn't get the trade back onto the Skoda but you really wanted to, and suddenly you're like, okay, crap, we're outnumbered. We've got nowhere to hide because we've stuck ourselves in the open plain that is this particular battlefield, and now we're just getting swarmed by the members of the 7th Reserve. It's an impossible situation.
It really, yeah, exactly. I think every single time it really has been an uphill battle here for UQ40. Every single time. You said tall order, definitely the case here as well. So UQ7's really showing us, really why they're going to be most likely the top team on the ladder here. We still have another round to see if that's going to be the decider, but they're looking really good at the moment. So I'm excited to see the results afterwards as well. We still have this round to go. We might see something a little bit, cheeky in terms of that there, because normally what happens is the teams like to say, "Hey, we've won the round. Let's give the commentators what they want. Is it going to be an SPG? Is it going to be an OI?
Are we going to get a fridge? Well, we're going to get a little bit of everything here from the 7th Army. A T-37, an M44, which I am so happy to see hitting the board once again and running it out with a 59, 16. You 7th Army having a bit of fun here.
Yeah, I think everyone's having a movie on this one as well. I mean, look, the Cromwells are nice. A nice little touch here. A nice change here in UQ40. But I really do love seeing this M44. This thing has a metric ton of damage. We're talking tons of damage here on the back of it as well. And I mean, with the T-37 as well, these guys really bringing us the SPGs. This is what you wanted to see, Midnight.
Oh, yeah.
Take it away.
This is everything I wanted to see here, Mendrix. And we're seeing... The last time we saw an M44 on this battlefield, we saw this exact same approach coming through from the attacking team here. You take the wide avenue and you set up an ambush at 1. Someone goes into it, and the M44 slams you from the side there. So hopefully that's the setup we'll see here. Even Finnegan, yeah, setting up actually really far away, assuming that's going to be his firing position. And I mean, if you can lure those Cromwells on VK into position without them realizing the M44 is there, it could actually go well for Yuki. We might actually see the M44 get a win under its belt today.
Look, I'd love to see that be the case here. Of course, those shots need to hit the mark. I do love that shell when it lands Oh, the sound is majestic. It is like an explosion that really is just food for your ears. So that's something I'm really expecting Finnegan to hit the mark on, purely because I do like to have that sound into it. Nice little setup here as well. They're in line, ready to go. Perhaps, just having a bit of a quick feed at the moment there. Perhaps they're eating on some Indomie as well. They're lining up for the time being, just sitting, basically they're sitting at lunch, right? What do you reckon, Midnight?
I think that it's as you said, they are just waiting for something to happen. It's like having a pet rock. You know it's there, you just need it to do something.
So how would you feed a pet rock, Midnight?
You would feed a pet rock. I don't know. I fed my pet rock water, and it eventually just turned into little pet rocks. It didn't go well.
So it made more pet rocks.
Yeah, I got more pet rocks. If you feed your pet rock water, you get more pet rock.
Is this erosion? Are you giving me a science lesson?
Yes, I am. I saw an opening. I had to take it then. Speaking of taking it, UQ finally touching the point here. 40th will say, okay, let's see what we're going here. They're going the typical train. And let's see Finnegan on this M44. He is waiting for his opening. Says, where are they? Where are they? There they are. Coming to frame, baby. Getting it hit.
Here we go. Lands.
Oh!
Ooh, takes a bit of chip. Nothing crazy, but Finnegan's trying to see if he can get another one as well. And they're literally just doing, I think, the same strat that we've seen before as well. As they're just beginning their push in as well. And now Stanky Leg and Dark are like, oh, guys, we need to leave. We need to run here as well. So the reload is still coming through now. Finnegan's ready for another shot. Let's see if he can actually land something on the back of it.
Yeah, Mr. X, though, slams into Finnegan. Says, wait a second, you have artillery. What's going on here? So, again, nice shot there. Finnegan's basically out of the fight. And now for Dark and Stank, well, things aren't going to be looking great for them there, as they are just sort of forced to run for their lives here. This slower VK of Mr. X is waiting for them on the flank. So they've been corralled like cattle here, Mendrix, and their only safety net, I think, is ironically the M44, which might be able to get a slug off soon.
I think the other thing to take into account, if you really had to look, okay, never mind, as I say that as well, the M44 takes another shot. Gonna get some chip damage there, but nothing too crazy. The trucks being forced out by Dark as well.
Dark.
He's trying to get away. He's using the buildings as cover, but they're not really being too effective here. And now it's just a matter of, look, I mean, I'm looking at here, 193 HP.
Oh, he missed!
Ah, so unfortunate. Yeah, I want that land to hit. I just want that shell to basically penetrate that armor and just knock out a tank here. And speaking of that, I mean, I did get my wish there, but it was the wrong tank that fell down. Finnegan's in forward tree. He's like, you guys won this already. Just let me be.
Let him go home. He wants to go home to his people is what he wants, but he's been spotted out here. Scorpio is just going to run him down. There is nothing that Finnegan can do in this situation. And QQ40 will be able to pick up at least one round here for Sand River.
Well, at least that was something that they decided to give us something pretty special here from UQ. I mean, we have seen the same play there from UQ40 where they just bring a massive charge in when they're on the defense, sitting back ready to roll. So pretty good stuff they're being able to play here. I love that they gave us something a little bit special there. Perhaps a bit of a finesse as well. Harder execution. Unfortunately, just not getting that execution on the back there. But hey, bit of a treat, right, Midnight?
Oh yeah, and we know, as we talked about coming into the day, I love me some things where it may not be conventional, it may not be meta, but damn is it fun there as you're looking at the stats, and the damage output just was not there for Finnegan's M44. He got one really good slug into his opponents, but unfortunately, outside of that, he really struggled, and Stanky and Dark just had to spend the whole time running away from their problems, really hoping that there was just more damage, but it just wasn't there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just didn't really hit the marks. Again, the shots just were not on the mark. And unfortunately, they were able to drop it around there. But of course, it doesn't really matter if you drop the round. This is literally that scenario of, hey, doesn't matter if you lost the battle, you won the war. That's really what matters here for the 7th Army. They managed to get the full win here. Yes, it's 3-1 with a little bit of fun there. So pretty effective play on that one. That being said, Midnight, is there anything else that you want to add before we throw to a quick break?
Beyond the fact that I just want to see more of these unconventional tank picks because I love them. And hopefully, I'm hoping we get to see that in round number 6, Mendrix.
Oh, that being said, round number 6 will be the University of Wollongong going up against the Deakin Daddies, guys. So we're having a quick break. Please do not go anywhere.
Before we're done.
From classic iced tea flavours like peach or mango to exotic lychee or pomegranate, you can enjoy your cha time any way you like. Cha time, shaking tea up.
Before we're done.
I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only one. No one likes being lied to. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need it. And we may have some history, but we don't have to repeat it. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I'm gonna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I just need to
They thought that my research and I had disappeared forever. But no one can ever stop me. Not then, not now. How do they not understand this? I created something amazing. My technologies will provide humanity with the opportunities that can only be dreamed of. The Alliance says it's dangerous. But science doesn't tolerate compromises. And the Alliance itself is not that united. And if I have to fight for my beliefs, well, I'm ready to make a stand.
And welcome back to the Australian Esports University League for World of Tanks. We are now moving into round 6, and if you are just joining us, we did just watch UQ 7th manage to take out UQ 40. in pretty commanding fashion with a little bit of a fun game towards the end. Midnight, any quick thoughts on that one before we jump into the next competition or the next match?
More than anything, when you are performing a pincer movement, I talked about it, you have to make sure that the person on their own is far enough away that you cannot get swarmed. I think that's really, really important for the maps that don't give you a whole lot of room to maneuver. And, round number 6 has one of those maps there, Mendrix.
Yeah, a lot of them coming into the mind as well. Let's have a quick look at that map pool as well. One of them that has been the bane of our existence, of course, is going to be on that tiebreaker, Prohorakova. I think I said that one right this time, but we'll see how we go on the sense of that one there. But, I mean, we do have a little bit of time before we do bring up the maps as well. I do want to actually just jump into the sponsor reads as well, if possible. Of course, we do have Chatime with over 120 Chatime tea brewers with a commitment to quality ingredients and mix-ins. AOC, a global leader in monitor display technology for more than 50 years. Predator, elevate your gaming experience in every way with quality and performance thanks to Predator. Indomie, feed your game and try out their flavors today. And of course, Rig, what it takes to win. So guys, we are having a bit of a change here as well. We don't actually have the original match into play. We do have, I did say beforehand it was going to be, I believe, University of Wollongong beforehand, but now we've changed it up a little bit. It's actually going to be the University of Waikato up against the New South Wales UKM. Now, this is probably going to be a pretty tough match here, Midnight, for University of Waikato. Sitting, lower on the ladder than they would like to be, whereas UNSW sitting pretty high up there. What do you think about that?
I mean, we've talked about David versus Goliath, right? And that's kind of what this matchup feels here. The side of UNSW have put themselves in a really commanding position coming through here. And their opponents, I feel like you have to pull out something a little bit tricky if you want to be successful here. Because I just don't feel like if you go for stock standard meta tanks, the VKs, maybe a Skoda thrown in for the right map, I just don't think that's going to matter. So I feel like I often say you can't use specialized tanks in these 3v3 scenarios because there's just not the room. You don't have the meat to work with it. But I think here, you might as well give it a crack here because I just don't feel like conventional wisdom will serve you well here if your opponents...
I can agree with that, Midnight. I think sometimes what they say is, don't worry about the person who's second, in your ranking that you have to verse, right? Always worry about... I mean, not to say that, University of Waikato beginners here, but always worry about the beginners because they're going to do something that you just don't expect. When you're going up against the second best swordsman, as an example, 2 swordsmen fighting each other, you got an idea of where he's going to swing, when he's going to stop, what he's going to do, all that sort of stuff here. If the swordsman doesn't know what he's doing, he might swing wide when he shouldn't swing wide and chop your head off, right? So these are all scenarios that comes into it. Again, something a little bit unconventional might really throw UNSW off kilter and actually put them in position as well. Another thing as well we need to take into account here, I believe are the maps ready? I want to just check with my producer to know if we can bring up the maps here as well. We are going to be bringing them up once again here, so let's bring up the maps and see what they'll be playing on. It's going to be Lakeville. I thought Prokhorova was going to be the tiebreaker, but it's not going to be the case. And then Himmelsdorf is going to be the last one there. So the tiebreaker is going to be the one that decides, if we do get there or not. But Lakeville's a map we haven't actually had the opportunity to check out, to be perfectly honest. So Midnight, have you had a chance to really review this map? What do you reckon the team's going to be taking into account when it comes to actually performing on this one?
In normal games of World of Tanks, I think Lakeville is one of my favorite maps to play on because you've got 3 separate avenues to attack on. You've got the choke point of the left-hand side of the map there through the mountains. You have the town, the slugfest to get through the town on the right-hand side. And if you're really feeling lucky, you can descend it. And maybe that'll work out for you there.
Through the lake.
Yeah, send it through the lake.
Send it through the lake. So you can just get through. Look, we've got new tanks. They're basically amphibious. They'll have the ability. You know what? They should bring in amphibious tanks. I want to see that come into play here as well. All right, they should bring in something that's going to be in competitive play. Amphibious tanks, make it happen. I reckon that'd be awesome. That being said, though, guys, we do have a little bit of a delay before we can bring you that game. The teams, getting themselves ready. You want to make sure they're completely prepared. Again, this is the gut met. The fact that we said before, the gut check matches are out of the way. No longer need to worry about it. These are the ones that are going to be the deciders. And so, of course, the players need a little bit of extra time to prepare, make sure they're in position, make sure they can actually get these wins, see if they're going to put themselves in a good spot. So, guys, we'll be going to a quick break. Please do not go anywhere.
Before we're done,
classic iced tea flavours like peach or mango to exotic lychee or pomegranate, you can enjoy your Chatime any way you like. Chatime, shaking tea up.
I just can't let you go. Lord knows that I've tried to. You said I was the only one. No one likes being lied to. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I wanna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head. I've been stuck on your memory, but it's not like I need it. And we may have some history, but we don't have to repeat it. You made this mess and left me with the pieces. Now I'm gonna burn all the bridges between us. I can't focus, I can't forget. I've been thinking too much lately. I just need to clear my head. I just need to clear my head.
They thought that my research and I had disappeared forever. But no one can ever stop me. Not then, not now. How do they not understand this? I created something amazing. My technologies will provide humanity with the opportunities that can only be dreamed of. The Alliance says it's dangerous. But science doesn't tolerate compromises. And the Alliance itself is not that united. And if I have to fight for my beliefs, well, I'm ready to make a stand.
Thank you so much for your patience. We are back with the Australian Esports University League for World of Tanks. If you guys are just joining us here now, again, we are in round 6. We had a little bit of a change up as well. We're going to be having UNSW, RUKM up against the University of Waikato, the Grasshoppers, seeing what they can do, strut in their stuff there. Midnight, are you excited to see what these two teams bring us together?
I am Mendrix, because we talked about before we went to our short little break just before. This is a game where I don't think conventionality is the solution to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because in terms of just raw firepower, I'm not sure that the Grasshoppers have what it takes to go toe-for-toe against their opponent here. So I feel like you have to pull out something a little bit cheesy, something a little bit outside of the box if you want to have a chance here, because going toe-for-toe, you're basically trying to dance against someone who spent the last 6 years living in a dance studio, and you're wearing your shoes backwards.
Why would they wear their shoes back? You can at least let them put the shoes on properly. Like,
No, that's the disadvantage you got.
It's like putting on the, your tracks the wrong way on your tank. Could you imagine what would happen in the middle of, the guys walk in, the crew, we're going to load up and get ready to roll. Mate, did you put the tracks on wrong? And the mechanic's like, I swear I put them on correctly, mate. I don't know what happened here. Everything's going to be fine. But why has their mechanic got 6 years of experience and ours just, we just picked off the street, the side before? This makes no sense. I feel like, they've got a little bit more behind them rather than that and that sorts of things. So, but, like you said, when it comes to toe-to-toe, that pound-for-pound pressure, it just feels like University of New South Wales IUCM is bringing a little bit more. And I believe, competition's ready to roll. The players are loaded up. The teams are in position. So we should be jumping into that action very shortly. So let's look to see, what will they be able to do here? Will it actually be University of New South Wales IUCM continuing to be that dominant force in the competition? Or will the University of Wollongong, New South Wales, sorry, not University of Wollongong, University of Hokkaido, I did it again, that damn abbreviation, will they be able to come through and actually take out their team? And again, they're going to be bringing the VKs, which is expected. But the A43, a nice little change there on Thega. And we've got the Boogies, which we do know that the University of New South Wales RUKM likes to bring. And of course, their own VKs in their own back pockets as well. But a little bit of differences across the board in terms of what iterations they're bringing to the table.
And we'll see, well, where do you choose to go in these positions? Do you want to get, I want to say, caught and sort of bogged down in the slugfest of forcing your way through the town where your opponents are more than likely going to be waiting? Do you try to go for the long, elaborate flank through the mountainside, or even try and rush up through the middle? Well, I say, are you going to look for someone in the middle? Epic is interested. I don't know if he's going to go for the full rush, but at least it'll give him great vision of the town side and any attack angle if those VKs aren't careful.
They could go through the lake Midnight. That's
They can
a
go
strategy
through the lake.
we haven't implemented yet. That's a possibility. They can take into it as well, but I'm happy to sit back. Just, they've got a bit of time still. They've got 5 minutes and 45 seconds. They're using the cover of the buildings for the time being, just to before they do make their advance towards what looks like to be side 1 in the play here. Big defense though has been set up on this location here. They put themselves in a good spot, and they will find a shot into Thega, chunked down to 515 HP as well, and he's lining up another shot here as well. Thega's trying to run. That next shot's just gonna miss. Nice, good shots they're coming across here from Epic.
But now Epic's going to have a bit of a harder time, because using that town as cover means, Epic's going to have to reposition. But I think he's done his job well. He's like, okay, they are definitely coming through the town like we suspected. I've taken some damage onto Thega. And now he can leave it to his 2 VKs, his 2 teammates, Datsun Beetle and Penguin, waiting. But this is likely going to be a 2v3 here, Mendrix, because I don't think Boogie's going to get back. I don't think Epic, is going to get back in time.
Yeah, they are in a really good position here. They managed to get another pot shot off here on the side here, so Epic's still providing something to this fight, but now they are going to be 3-on-2. They're beginning to make that push through as well. Thega's leading the charge, and he's going to take some damage for his troubles as well, but now that they are well and truly on this, they're trying to use the rocks for cover here to just get from behind. But these VKs have a lot of damage on the side here as well. There's still going to be some help coming across here from Epic on those 5 shots, and now Thega's on 62 HP, still spotted out, is really blinking red for the time being. I'm not sure how those drivers, the crew is still alive at this point, but we do have to press Rabbit now, as well as Skullmess beginning to push in that little bit deeper as well. Now they're looking for a bit of a ramp.
Yeah, but it's very aggressive in Mendrix. They're trying to take down the 2 VKs in the open field. But again, you've got sniper support coming through here. It makes this push, I just want to say, near impossible to be successful, because you've got to somehow get through these 2 VKs. You've nearly done that with Penguin, but Datsun Beetle is basically untouched, and you need to be constantly worried, where is Epic's barrel pointing? Where is that damn BUG hiding in the backline? There is Thega, is trying to get Penguin. Penguin, can he make the trade worthwhile? Charges through. Penguin comes out on top, and now the last man standing for the side of the Grasshoppers will drop as well.
And it's going to be all members still standing here for the University of well, New South Wales, RUKM, just basically what we sort of expected here. These guys really are going to be the Goliaths in this David versus Goliath matchup, and that BUG just pulling up so much work here. I mean, it was just ridiculous from Epic to actually land those shots from that distance. This light Polish tank really providing that support and fire from the sides here as well. As you can see, 1,430 damage, and those shots went pretty much all from max range. The potential damage of this tank is, something that cannot be scoffed at. Is, around that 17,000, 18,000 mark. So it hits pretty damn hard when it does manage to land here. So the fact that he was able to find those hits were absolutely huge for his team.
Exactly, and then when the counter charge came through from their opponents, they had to charge into 2 VK-36s. Not exactly the easiest task to do, especially because Datsun Beetle and Asian Penguin, the moment they realized, oh crap, they're charging us, they started backing up. They pulled their opponents into a line where Epic could help without having to spend, a solid 30 seconds repositioning. So really, really good awareness to say, okay, cool, we've got some good damage down, and we can keep Epic safe in the backline to boot.
Yeah, it really was, again, an uphill battle coming across here for the Grasshoppers. When I look at what they actually put into play here, of course, they're using those VK-30s. That does mean that they have a little bit less HP in comparison to VK-36s. And the other thing to take into account is, of course, they do want to move a little bit quicker around the map as well. So that does mean that they are, unfortunately, on a little bit of a back foot here, and they basically sat down in an entrenched position, took advantage of the fact that their opponents were charging them, and were able to run away with that win. So good start here for University of New South Wales. Grasshoppers, again, need to pull out something a bit special here, but when I look at everything here, I mean, we were sort of like lining it all up and saying, hey, this David's got a really tough battle going ahead of him. There was definitely opportunities here for the Grasshoppers to actually take away this win. Perhaps the representatives from Waikato might have the ability to actually take a match off UNSW, perhaps take the win. All they need to do is just smooth up that execution. Rough, not really rough up, smooth out the rough edges, to say.
And there is that possibility, because now they are going to be playing defense. Now, they have to make a decision. I don't think they will, but they could try and mimic what worked well on them. I don't think they will, and honestly, I don't think they should. Because if you just mimic what your opponents did to you, there's a solid, I'm going to call it a 70% chance that if you try doing them what they did to you, they're going to know how to deal with it.
But Midnight, what if they know that you know that they're going to do what you're going to do? In which case, then when they do what you're going to do, it would be the unexpected factor of them doing what you know. See, this is probably, it's a complete mind game, and it goes back to the idea of luck. I mean, you can try to mimic it, and if it ends up working out for you, it'd be really good. Of course, it's pretty smart to actually just, put one member on that far side as well. When you're looking for that charge, you can basically see the members trying to get through using the cover of the city. So pretty intelligent there. Of course, they do need to pick a tank that's got that fantastic view range, has that extra camo on to do it. I would love to see a Skoda perhaps being the difference, there. Of course, doesn't have the same, pack of punch that the BUG eyes have, but at least, can still do something effectively. Can fire a few more shots and rounds, but of course, having to cover those buildings won't be as effective here. But we seem to see a little bit of the same coming across here, but there will be an SU-100 though, entering into the battlefield.
Yeah, that's quite fun there from Chris Radham. Very interested to see how that goes. There's, of course, watch to win 1 out of 5 codes there. If you're interested, you have your opening to get involved here, as we will have the match going underway.
So I'm really interested to see how this SU-100 does, jump into it. Of course, it is a bit more of a support tank coming into the fray. Has pretty decent damage in the back of it as well, but is a tank destroyer, needless to say. He's got the ability to still pack that punch on the same sides here. So really going to be looking at the Breast Rabbit to bring something special and hopefully allow Grasshoppers to go into that next round not being 2 rounds down or 2 matches down in this sense. That is a really rough position to be in when you know your opponent just needs to win 1 out of the 2 in the next map. So going to be a slightly bit of a rough scenario here for them. They are setting themselves up here a little bit differently. It's going to be them now using the cover city in a good position to actually hold down a good spread across one of the sites here. The moves, though, looking a little bit different here in terms of what's going to be done here on the attack. They're not moving as a unit, but they are going to be placing good old Epic back on the same spot again. So seeing a bit of a deja vu from the last round.
Yeah, and the Grasshoppers are, I don't want to say out of position, But they're going to have to open themselves up to Epic if they want to come and defend position 1 here because, well, we're seeing UNSW not really interested in getting involved in a slugfest. They're like, okay, cool, we're just going to go through the mountains to position 1, and Epic looking around says, all right, I see 2 of you, and an amazing shot onto that SU-100, drops them by half, and he can probably get another volley onto you. Rabbit has to spend the rest of the round hiding.
Yeah, he's going to actually back away from the brushes as well. Of course, they can just return fire in that initial place and say, yep, that's when he's going to go for as well. Epic has repositioned, is trying to get himself back into that sniper mode to see if he can land a shot here as well. But he is going to take some damage for his trouble now. Isn't really in the best form of cover here. He's now trying to escape, basically full reverse backwards on the side here. He's dodging shots left, right, and center. Call this man Neo, I guess you could say at this moment in time, because he's dodging bullets, and now he's managed to get behind this rock formation. Get a little bit of extra protection on the side here. You can see he's just trying to peek while going backwards, giving his, strong side of his armor here, but is again going to continue to miss most shots on most of these scenarios here, get a little bit further back away, and that does mean that the Grasshoppers can continue to advance a bit further forward.
Yeah, it means they are going to be allowed to try and hold the charging VKs over the mountainside here. Ideally, you want to hold them before they get over the ridge. Unfortunately, that has long since passed its time. Now, it's a matter of you just have to hold them at the entrance to the choke point, which we're about to approach here. But the advantage that Thega and Skelmis are both there in position means that they are going to have to fight their way for every inch, but the advantage is that Asian nor Datsun Beetle have taken any damage, and oh god, Vegas has charged, didn't realize, wait, they're right here, what is this?
It just turned the corner immediately, and it seems to be a bad meme of them just seeing each other right off the bat, so looking to take these shots now. Is going to be a trade between Thega and Penguin, but Datsun Beetle now is pushing towards that front side there. Good amount of HP available as well, and again, these VKs they're going up against have the high ground at least. Similar pack to punch in terms of damage that comes out, but that extra HP probably is going to be effective here for Datsun Beetle.
Yeah, well, Penguin and Beetle, obviously, just right now it's just posturing. Again, you don't want to open yourself up to too much anything, and this is where Epic comes into effect here. Epic is keeping Depressed Rabbit completely pinned down there. If Rabbit makes a play to try and reinforce his teammates, he's likely going to catch a shot to the side and go down. But
he's moving up himself at the moment as well, so he's possibly going to reveal that position. Hasn't been spotted out just yet, but looks like Depressed Rabbit is going to be spotted, and instantly the shot comes through from Epic, and he demolishes Depressed Rabbit. And damn, that is definitely a bad feeling here for the Grasshoppers.
They're going to go.
As you can see, they have to make this play go, and Thega's jumping in. He's trying to get the ram, but he's going to be popped just short. And now Epic's looking for the flank onto Skelmis. He's coming in from behind. They're not ready for that position here, and now they're more than happy just to jump in, and they're just janitors now on cleanup duty.
it is nothing more than that. The moment that Rabbit lost the duel against Epic on the side there, it meant that that flank was an inevitability, Mendrix, and that's why we saw Thega just decide, I'm sending it. Because you do not win that battle 2v3 if you try and sustain. You just can't. So you have to try something unconventional. Thega decided, we've got no choice, I'm going in. And unfortunately, just didn't have the health to back up the decision.
You just had to send it to that point, like you said. And the reaction time from Epic, he knew exactly where his member that he was looking for here as well. He knew exactly where that SU-100 was hiding. And basically the split second that the SU-100 was spotted, just took the shots off, got the kills. He wasn't really even involved in that sort of like, dance fight towards the end there. Still does the most damage for the team as well. Of course, Penguin doing a pretty good amount of damage dishing as well, 1,201, but you can really see the University of New South Wales, RUKM, really do have this down to a pretty good set of it, and they're looking to remain on top of that leaderboard. Of course, Grasshoppers just aren't out of it at the moment. They still have, another map that they can take this to, at least see if they can win the next two, but in a bad position here. You can see that there was some decent damage there from Skelmis, but just pales in comparison in terms of what was dished out by the University of New South Wales.
And that was just a matter of they were getting picked apart from range. In particular, Epic did so much in both rounds on this bug here, because in that first round, recall, he got some nice damage down early on, and his teammates pulled their opponents into his line of fire. And in round number 2, It sounded very similar. Found the SU-100 sitting on its own in Rabbit's hands. All right, pinned Rabbit down. His teammates got the flank. He's like, okay, you guys can go do that on the side. If Rabbit tries to assist his teammates, I kill him and then I flank them. And so it's that ticking time bomb if you are on the side of the Grasshopper saying, okay, Rabbit has to try and win a duel against an opponent who knows where he is. He doesn't know exactly where Epic is, as well as your two teammates are saying, hey, dude, we need your help. We're in a 2v2. We want to win this. So an impossible situation for the Grasshoppers, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Again, Epic just being a complete boss, sitting there up on the hill, having the full vantage point, gave all the information that was required for UNSW to really take those wins there, and they used it effectively, were able to get the wins off the back of it. So there was definitely, at least a response, signs of life coming through from Waikato, from the Grasshoppers, but unfortunately, again, unable to hit that mark, which means they're going to be down two points initially in this particular round of six, sorry. That being said, though, we are moving on to the next map. I believe it is going to be Provorkova. I believe I've got that pretty much down pat now as well. But hey, don't blame me on that one there as well. Again, this map a bit more open in terms of what it can do. Nice open fields, but has those covers and trees on the far side, and that's typically where we've actually seen those light tanks be used very effectively. So would like to see them come into it. I feel this is a map that the Scotus can really exceed on. So perhaps maybe that's something we actually get to see be put into the mix as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen these medium to light tanks, Cromwells, Crusaders, do really well against the slower, heavily armored VKs, because the VKs can't keep up with their more agile opponents. There's a lot more places to hide, a lot more hit and run potential. So I'm hoping that for this particular match here, we will see a shift away from the VKs entirely. I'm hoping, I should say.
You're hoping for it.
I'm hoping for it. I say expecting because typically when I say I expect something, it goes completely backwards for me. So we'll see what will they bring here. And I'm seeing Cromwells. I'm seeing another ASU-100 and even an A34 in Vegas' hands once again.
Yeah, so a little bit of difference here, though. But to be honest, nothing too crazy. Again, these players are going to be using similar tanks off the bat here. At least, you have the VK's volume kills. I think that's what we've got here for the VKs here. That can be what the abbreviation is, for this initial tier 6 meta that comes with it. So just volume kills coming through here. So we can see now what is going to be the decision making here from the teams here. We do have a bit of a spread coming across from UNSW. Going to be parking one of their VKs near that site too. They got the two Cromwells using the cover here on the side. No one's been spotted out just yet, but sure enough, with them slowly moving into position, I reckon that's going to be a short-lived luxury.
Now, both teams are more than aware, Mendrix, that this that we're staring at here is typically where every attack has started from. It's always a charge from one team in this exact location, and Epic has been caught out first there on that Cromwell and takes the first couple slugs of the fight, tries to return fire, but has absolutely come off the worst of wear for things, and that's Beetle is at least helping from the other side of the field.
Well, we can see that now Penguin is trying to at least provide a little bit of cover here as that other Cromwell now is beginning to sort of just sit on the backside, see if they can get away. They are on a bit of a retreat as well. Thega's continuing to push forward. He hasn't been spotted just yet. They're going to be within that 50-meter range, and now they know exactly where he is. Another shot comes down. Not going to do the most amount of damage, but still going to continue to put some scratches in as well. Thega's going to take 148 for that trouble. Another shot following through is going to start to bring him low. Skelmus needs to land something back inside here, but that shot's going to go wide. And Thega's now in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and part of the problem that's going on here is Depressed Rabbit's SU-100 hasn't been able to do much. Has not really found a lot of options, and Thega is trying to give his teammate an opening, but unfortunately the opening is opened against them. They go down, and now Skelmus and Rabbit, they can absolutely do it, but they need to at least even the odds here. I think Rabbit needs to get a kill shot on to Epic's Cromwell.
Yeah, he's looking for it now. You can see just sitting on the backside, but there's going to be Skelmus here on the VKs trying to figure out where they've gone. But really at this moment, you'd think, hey, I'm just going to send to Epic just a little bit further back, make sure there's going to be in a much more safer position in comparison to the rest of these other tanks. They're still relatively healthy, but look at Epic. Epic's like, I don't care. I don't mind if I die. As long as I sacrifice myself for the cause, it's all good. But doesn't seem to be the case here. Skelmus now taking the fire in return. Maybe going the way of Thega very shortly here with a shot. Still spotted out for the time being.
There it
Epic
is.
still safe there, has been spotted out. There we go. Depressed Rabbit finally manages to land a shot there, but not really going to be hitting as much as the mark as you would like. That's Beetle now taking another shot as well. Is being spotted here just after that initial firing range. And we can see Penguin still sitting on the fire end. Isn't actually been sighted out either. Might look for a flank as beginning to move around down that side of the map.
Oh no, Rabbit's been caught out here by Epic's Cromwell, and well, Rabbit does want to take as little damage as possible. Obviously, he needs to try and catch out Epic, but he's being pincered by Beetle at the same time there. Fires the volley, does not connect, is trying to use his dead teammate as cover, but I'm not so sure that's going to work for him here as Penguin's flank has come through. He will run across his final opponent there in the VK. They will likely try and trade, but I'm not sure this VK has the health to make this work.
Yeah, as you can see, we do have Penguin coming in. Hard, fast, strong, gets the kill. Basically, another day in the office of Penguin there. The confidence with that rush through on the shot there. Realized had enough HP to go for it. If one of the shots missed, might have been in a bit of a rough situation here, but now it's just Depressed Rabbit. Last man standing. You do have that Cromwell coming in. Might look to see if he can go for a ram and just finish everything up. 25 HP. Living on a slither. Doesn't even need to get the ram here. Just needs to take the shot there, and it's going to be a nice finish coming through from Epic, who has been really performing this entire round.
Yeah, and after getting, I don't want to say caught out, but getting involved in those opening volleys there did come off worse for wear. But even after, dropping over half the health from those opening salvos, he didn't get hit after that. And then we saw the backup fire of Datsun Beetle and Penguin come through, giving nice support to their teammate who, as we can see on the damage numbers, Epic, despite running one of the Cromwells, was more than capable this round.
Yeah, I mean, looking at everything that was happening there, Epic really just seems to be, especially, in terms of how he's performing beforehand as well, really holding, not like I'm going to say holding the team together, but right now is really shining. Just something that, it's special coming here from Epic. He's literally Epic at this moment in time, so everything seems to be going well. I mean, look at that, 7 direct hits, fired 12 shots there, was able to get a good amount that was, indecisive moments as well, uses that presence of mind excellently, gets out of dip when he needs to as well, just says, yep, all right, I'm going to just push towards this side of the map. I'll come in when I'm needed, and still manages to deliver that final kill blow as well. So pretty good on the side of that there. Unfortunately, though, for the Grasshoppers, unable to, at least convert one of the wins here. So that does mean that they have officially lost this particular round. But we still do have another match when these guys turn around for the defense as well.
And I kind of like the idea of what the Grasshoppers were trying to do, specifically with its SU-100. The idea is simply, it hits really, really damn hard. So if you can set up a scenario like what we saw them trying to do before, where it was waiting in the wings, you try to pull someone like Epic into a trade, and then it just punches you in the gut when you don't see it coming. That sort of approach can work brilliantly. Unfortunately, Rabbit didn't get any good line of sight on Epic in that first opening volley, and its first real salvos did hit a target, but the problem was at that point they were already a man down, and you hit into a target who hadn't taken damage up to that point in the fighting. So it's a moment of you're trying to set up an ambush like we saw hell in our very first match at round number 5. The problem is that for as hard as the SU hits, it won't solo a target out. It needs to either, take someone down who's already had their kneecaps taken off, or it needs to be given the time to hit a second or a third follow-up shot.
Yeah, there needs to be a bit of bruising coming into it. And when Penguin went in for that rush there, it wasn't really someone who was, doing a dramatic, frustrated, flustered rush in. No, that was an executioner coming in with the axe. That was someone that understood that all I need to do is land one good shot here, and I'll be able to finish off this tank. So it is a scenario where the SU-100 wants to have a little bit of extra cover, is able to deal with that bruising, and stops that execution scenario from even happening, for even being a thought from the opponent. You want them to basically be sitting scared, worried that that next shot is going to hit like a freightway train and completely blow you off the map. So that's really the scenario that where the SU-100 really does begin to shine, but it does come back to UNSW not giving them that opportunity, positioning well, spotting them out beforehand, and then from there taking their shots and just putting the Grasshoppers on a back foot. So pretty rough in that sense. Now, as we mentioned before, and might happen in the previous game, we've got a team that's already won. Maybe we get to see a bit of spicy tanks come into the mix.
I mean, I'm always hopeful, Mendrix, but I don't think there's any surprise coming in here. We could see, well, again, we're expecting the probably lighter ones, the Cromwells, the VKs, the very standard stock standard. Is an SU going to come out here? It's going to be a Hellcat. That's fun. There we go. Finally, Hellcat's. I think it's the first appearance on stream, at least, we're getting for this thing.
I think we've seen a Hellcat before, but it was like on the first round, and again, it was one of these scenarios where someone's like, let's just bring out the Hellcat. Let's see how it goes in the scenario here. So it's going to be good in that sense. We'll see how it performs going into it. Again, it's going to be the Grasshoppers that bring it. It's going to go straight into the river and just say, no, I'm completely fine with this sense here because I'm just going to come out the other side, a bit of a wash. And let's see what they do decide to find here. Of course, the Grasshoppers are going to be on defense here, so just looking to get themselves in a good position. And it seems they're playing a lot around this site too.
Yeah, they're playing around this position that we haven't really ever seen people setting up on. Typically, it's the fights around the bushes around site number 1. That's where our fights oftentimes happen. But here, we are seeing the Grasshoppers take a different angle. It does mean that site attack 2 is, well, I don't think anything's going to come from that one. But the question then for UNSW is, well, do they realize that this is happening? Because the way that we see them positioning, they're positioning very clearly under the expectations that their opponents are in front of them. And Mendrix, and well, from our point of view, we know that's not the case, as are they going to try and ambush Datsun Beetle from this high ground here?
Now, look, that would be something I'd love to see. This would be probably the first time the Grasshoppers get the jump on UNSW as well, so they are using a little bit of that extra speed to their advantage to be in a good position here as well. Datsun Beetle, though, I'm pretty happy with this. I mean, when I'm looking at UNSW here, they've gone with a very conventional play here. The true Cromwells again, the VKs, not leaving anything up to chance. They want to make sure that this is going to be a flawless victory.
Datsun Beetle realizes, hey, hold on, why? How can they see me? Where are they at? He probably has an inkling now that they have the high gun. We can see him. He's trying to scout them out here. Will he be able to spot them? His two teammates are still waiting, saying, okay, we don't know exactly. They might be on this side of the map here, but we want to be careful. We don't exactly know what's going on. And this level of caution, I adore from UNSW. Yes, they're versing an opponent who you might say is weaker, but they're still taking their time, making sure they don't just charge headfirst into an ambush.
It's called respect. It is something that I feel is sometimes lacking a little bit in the ranked competitive sports these days when it comes to esports. But obviously, at the high, it's not the case here. But I feel it is going to be a nice little change around here from USW given that respect.
Is Thaker just spinning his barrel around?
Yeah.
He's having a good time up there.
He's like, I got nothing else to do. Might as well.
Or he's having a good time. Waiting for his teammates, waiting for something to be spotted there. Obviously, he thinks he smells something. He thinks he's smelling Datsun Beetle.
Oh,
and fires off the first shot here as base 1 is being captured here. So now, well, you're gonna have to somehow get there.
Yeah, they're not in the best position to actually make that work here. UNSW are like pretty happy with that. They scouted out. They said, I think they're all at 2. You think they're at 2? Well, one of the ways you can do is just jump, put one member onto it and see what happens. And they know that's a bit of like, yep, they're definitely at 2 there. I know where Thager is at least. So the shots have come through. No real damage though when I look at it. I mean, 1279 there. I mean, of course, they're still relatively healthy on the tanks here, but it's hitting that point now where it's starting to die down in terms of that base capturing in. And one of the things you can do is just bring in the 2 tanks a bit late here, and that 1 minute immediately just gets cut down to a point where they just win the game. So they really do need to get onto Penguin now and reset this timer as fast as possible.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that they only committed 1 member here, but then again, Datsun Beetle is in a great position to cut off anyone coming over the train tracks, and Epic in his Cromwell is waiting in the wings, as is so typical, but we are seeing a complete pincer movement from the Grasshoppers here. Thager, Skelmus, and Rabbit all will be approaching at about the same time from 3 different angles. Against an uncoordinated team, this can start to tear you apart here, but they are running out of time here. 30 seconds left on the clock here. I think it's going to be up to Rabbit to land a slot on to Penguin to slow down this timer.
Yeah, they need to get in there right now. It seems to be another skirmish here between Thager and Datsun Beetle as well, as they're just chilling out on the side there. They spotted each other out. They know what's happened. Skelmus has also been spotted out as well. Epic pulls the trigger and starts firing those shots in as well, but isn't going to be anything too crazy on the side
Gotta
here.
get in.
They need to get in there ASAP. They need to reset the timer. They've managed to do it, and now it's all out war.
Yeah, charging forwards. Penguins and Epic, though, bullying down Skelmus. They want to get rid of him as quickly as possible, and they will drop him on the backside. Thega couldn't do anything against Datsun Beetle's stronger VK36, and now Rabbit is charging towards Vega, has actually backed away, and now this leaves one of the Grasshoppers in a 1 versus 3. Vega's like, sorry, buddy, there's not a whole lot I can do for you, and Rabbit, well, we can play you a eulogy, mate, but it's not going to be very long, because you are not going to be long for this world.
Yeah, as you see Chris Rabbit just completely getting ragdolled. That's something I would not expect a tank to experience, but Vega doesn't want any of that. He's on a complete retreat now as well. He's just running right on out of there. And I feel like now from the University of New South Wales, they might go hunting, but there is only a minute left on the clock here. They might just decide to say, hey, let's, just play out that wait game. We're just going to put 2 members here now onto that flag, and that's obviously going to increase the timing. Only 39 seconds here, but it's going to be on Vega to get that reset, to see if he can actually pull this clock down all the way to that final minute.
Well, it's going to be an uphill battle here. Mendrix, he has 185 health to play with. If he gets there in time, he's actually starting to run out of time on the clock. He's going to get to the hill, find his targets, and then still successfully land the shot here. 10 seconds remaining. Will Vega be able to get off this shot to try and delay what is a disastrous situation? He has been spotted out there. 3, 2, 1. He's not able to, and Vega, he will survive. Oh! No, he lands the shot! Oh, never mind. He landed the shot. Unfortunately, that was the last thing Vega was able to do.
I literally for a second was like, will he? No. Okay, he won't be able to do it on the side. I was like, I thought it was done. Then I got surprised that it wasn't done. And then I got surprised that it was done directly afterwards. So that was definitely a good finish coming across there. Pretty much down to the wire and the tension there as well. But once again, University of New South Wales coming out on top. I don't believe they've lost a single tank in all rounds.
They've done really well here, and a really good combination of, adapting to the maps, right? We saw for Lakeville, they went double VKs with BUG backup. For this one, they decided, look, we need the Cromwell speed, and of course, let's bring in the VK for that extra oomph, as we always do. Really good changing up, and of course, just really well executed from both sides. And even, yes, they did lose, but Waikito, I think, actually was a very entertaining round. Their idea was solid, right? If you tried to sort of charge up the center field without really noticing that they were on the flank, if you weren't, as we talked about, respectful, you could have just been assassinated before you realized what was going on.
And especially with how well UNSW were doing, as if they wouldn't decide to just be a little bit disrespectful, right? As if they wouldn't just go, you know what, we can just go for this charge. It doesn't matter. But no, they kept the respect up. That means, of course, that unfortunately for the Grasshoppers, they weren't able to actually find themselves that final win towards the end there. So it is going to be a flawless victory coming across here for UNSW. But apart from that, we've got those 2 games there. We got a very competitive match at the start there. We got to figure out, who UQ 7th. They really are going to be the kings of the round there. UNSW, still very strong contenders for this competition. Midnight, do you have any final thoughts before we close out the show?
Other than the fact that we are seeing I'm not going to say we're not seeing, we've got a very well-established baseline of these other tanks that we not just expect in general, but it adapts for the maps, right? We're seeing, Skodas on these maps where you can hide a little bit more, BUGs on maps where you can do a little bit more sniping, and then just in general, you can't really go wrong with a VK. So, especially when we hit, playoffs and finals and everything like that, we can really expect to see, okay, do you just try and skill check your enemies with matching what they're going to bring to the table with what you're bringing to the table? Are you going to try and pull out something a little bit unconventional for certain kinds of maps? There is some room for experimentation, and I really, really hope to see it, if just so we can see some oddball tanks every now and then.
Hey, I mean, everything leading up here to what's going to be the final points of the competition, maybe people will have that meta figured out and will find a way to actually deal with what seems to be these volume kills, these VKs that are doing so much. But with that being said, of course, we do still need to thank our sponsors who, of course, without this would not be possible. Chatime, with over 120 Chatime tea breweries with a commitment to quality and ingredients and mix-ins. AOC, a global leader in monitor display technology for more than 50 years. Predator, elevate your gaming experience in every way with quality and performance thanks to Predator. Indomie, feed your game and try out any of their flavors today. And of course, Rig, what it takes to win. A little tidbit we need to add on the end there as well, of course, is Wargaming Sydney. Thank you so much for collaborating with us to bring this competition as well. Without your help, I don't think we would be there in any sense of it. So thank you again on that sense. And guys, we will be back next week at 7:15 Australian Eastern Daylight Time for our final week of Round Robin. We hope to see you there.
Before we're done.
From classic iced tea flavours like peach or mango to exotic lychee or pomegranate, you can enjoy your chai time any way you like. Chai time, shaking tea up.